part 53 of Don't Say Schwarzenegger, and this is a continuance from part 52. And I'll be covering intimidation, harassment, surveillance, and hacking that was all happening to me for the last 9 years since I pressed charges. Now, drones has been something that have been a part of my life for the last 9 years. Everywhere I go, I probably have 75 videos that I've taken over the years of them always hovering outside my bedroom window, above my house, when I do photo shoots, because I don't leave the house a lot, except if I'm working usually, and they'll be floating above the photo shoot area, and I'll ask the people that work or live there, is this normal? And they'll say, never seen one in the 8 years I've lived here, things like that. So it's been constant. So this is just one of maybe 175 videos I have. This is a drone outside my bedroom window, just hovering, floating. I could post a million of these, but it's redundant. Next, let's cover car vandalism. Now, I covered a specific instant in part 49 where somebody took a crowbar to my car, which was inside of a private gated neighborhood, within hours after evidence of a probation violation came into my possession of the defendants. So car vandalism, usually within days or a week of me hanging out with someone, whether it's someone I was dating or somebody I was friends with, usually within days, if not that day or night, car vandalism will happen immediately. And it's caused me to want to isolate even more to protect friends so that they don't have to deal with all the stuff that I deal with. For example, I had a friend who this happened to twice so far, where one, she hired me for work, and another one, she attended the civil trial in 2021 to support us. And on the first day of the civil trial, or that night, I think after it began, after that night, and on the first night she hired me for work in a completely different time period, a year or something before, somebody came to her home and broke into her car. Now here's the thing, you could be like, well, maybe break-ins happen. People see something, they steal it, that does happen, of course. However, both times it happened to her, again, within a 24-hour period of being with me, someone broke into her car, left all the doors wide open, and she happened to have very valuable items in her car. One time being a vintage Chanel coat in a dry cleaning bag, but you could see it. Whoever went into her car took everything in the front of the car and moved it to the back, and took everything in the back of the car and moved it to the front, and gently laid the Chanel coat on top. Almost as if it's a message saying, don't get this twisted, this is not a robbery. We just want you to know we know where you live and we know who you support. This happened to her twice within a 24-hour period of supporting me. Last year, 2023, I was hanging out with a new friend. She was a neighbor of mine. And within the first few weeks of us hanging out, on 2 different occasions, her tires were slashed. Then, on a previous post of mine from May 26th, I talk about another incident that happened in May of this year where I was going and hanging out with a friend, and after about a week or so of hanging out with her at her place, her car got broken into one night, and then the following morning I was followed. The Uber driver told me, hey, that G-Wagon is following us for the last hour, and we were being followed. The second I turn around and look, the G-Wagon took off. The second I get to her house, she tells me her car got broken into, and immediately, the alarm bells are going off. And I'm like, I need to go out front and get some fresh air. I go out front, and I posted on that video, a drone popped up and was following me. And here's a correspondence just with a friend of mine. I'm in the blue, they're in the gray. And my friend, who I would share my dog Blitz with, the German Shepherd I've posted. And when he would have Blitz, multiple times his brake lines were cut in his car, but only when he had Blitz, a dog who is extremely important to me and my recovery. Oh, I almost forgot to mention that he had also messaged me that not only were they cutting his brake lines, somebody was cutting his brake lines over and over, but they were going in and they were just removing screws and taking them out and making it unsafe to drive. Now, another weird thing that happened was I had a friend that I was meeting up with to talk about the court case and try to figure out if we had resources to help us, go after the defendants and everything. And one of the first nights after we got together to talk about it, my friend who I met up with, he went home and he immediately hit me up that night and he was like, you're not going to believe what's in my driveway. Somebody had picked up a giant, crazy, heavy boulder and then went and dropped it in his driveway, like right in the middle of his driveway. And no, it didn't roll over there. It wasn't in a situation like that. And it was just a weird, like, hey, you're right, this is weird. We know where you live and we know what you're doing. And then maybe a few months later, him and I had been meeting up again to talk about the case. And he was chased home at nighttime and he was terrified. And after that, he even was open with me. He was like, I'm not safe coming to I don't want to go to your home anymore. We can meet in public or something. He's like, but I'm not going to your home anymore. Just not going to do it. So very isolating, very isolating. And lastly, let's talk about hacking. I've had my email hacked. I've had my home security cameras hacked. But let's start with the emails. So a few years ago, I decided to, and I had Yahoo, okay? Like I know it's, I just had it for years and I just never bothered to get a better email. But I'd been meaning to do it for years, was to go through thousands of emails that I had and organize them into one file that could be used to prove corruption on many levels, okay? Because I've been keeping a paper trail for many, many years, but it's a lot with PTSD to sit down and have to organize all this and read through it and re-trigger myself. But one day I finally said, it took me like 3 days, like 25, 30 hours of working on my phone, going through every single email about my case that I've ever had, and then organizing it and putting it in order. And it took me 30 hours. And when I was done, I was so excited. I put it into a file that just said corruption. And 15 minutes after that, like I took a break and I was like, oh my God. And I texted a friend of mine and I said, I did it. I finally did it. I organized all the corruption emails. I put them in one file and it's going to make things so much easier. And then 5 minutes after that, I went to go open up the file and it was gone, completely disappeared. And this was what was in its place. There was about 30 new files with nothing in them, all named Nicole Annabella Revocable Trust. And that would be Annabella Nicole Driz, the daughter of Alberto Driz and the cousin of Sean Driz. It was the weirdest thing. I went through Yahoo, I went through Apple, I went through every single resource you could think of to figure out what just happened. And everybody said, you've been hacked. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about my security cameras being hacked. Obviously, with all the stuff that was happening, I went and bought a ton of Blink cameras for outdoor and indoor. I had one in my living room, one in my bedroom, but I would keep those off if I was at home, and I would put them on if I was going to the grocery store or traveling or something. And my outdoor ones always stayed on. And in 2021 and in 2023, something really scary happened. I was in my bedroom, and with Blink cameras, when they're filming and recording, a little red light comes on. And if they take a photo, like take a picture, it actually makes a camera sound, like a click sound. It happened a couple times when my cameras were completely off inside my bedroom while I was changing. It happened in my living room one time, happened in my bedroom. And I reported both times to Blink, talked to customer service, made a whole report. And I remember one of the customer service ladies was like, I described everything to her. I was like, it's not even on. I saw the red light go on and I heard the click. And I'm a woman that lives by myself and I'm terrified. And she was like, you absolutely should be. She's like, this is not normal. Like, you've been hacked and I'm going to make a report. And if this happens again, you need to contact us again. So at that point, I stopped using my indoor cameras because it was just way too terrifying. So these are all things I've covered, in the last 2 parts that I can't say, oh, Sean Driz, Maurice Driz, Alberto Daniel Driz, William Jolson did this to me. But I will say, and at the risk of sounding paranoid, I will say that the coincidences are too much. And by the way, I haven't covered everything. I'm not going to when it comes to all the intimidation harassment. I could do 5 more 10-minute parts about it with photos and videos, but I think I'm going to leave that for a different platform in media. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what I've been going through and what my friends and family have been going through because they support me, and why it has made sense to me for so long to keep it all inside. But I'm glad I'm not, and I really appreciate everybody giving me a safe space to talk about all this stuff. And I hope if anyone's in my position going through this stuff, you're not crazy. And there is help and resources out there, and I hope my story helps. Thank you.